Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel, over here doing another guest review for organicpricedbooks.com. And I'm back with another Marvel Omnibus. Today we're taking a look at the Captain America by Ta-Nehisi Coates Omnibus, and this one was a lot of fun, you guys. I'm going to do a quick overview today, light on spoilers where possible, but first a couple facts about this book. The issues in this volume were of course written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and illustrated by various different artists including Leinil Francis Yu, Adam Kubert, and many more. The comics in this volume were published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2018. As far as what it collects, this omnibus includes Captain America, the 2018 series, issues 1 through 30, and material from Free Comic Book Day 2018, Avengers Captain America, issue 1. This is an oversized hardcover collection. It appears to be glossy print paper stock with, I believe, a sewn binding. There does appear to be some glue in here as well. I'll show a look at the binding so you can make your determination. And it comes in at 696 pages. Now, what you're seeing here is the standard edition cover for this omnibus by Alex Ross. We do also have a direct market cover, I also believe by Alex Ross. It's a really stunning cover as well. I'll throw up a little thumbnail so you can compare the different covers so you can make your own choices. There really isn't a bad cover in my opinion. I love the dust jacket artwork and the under the dust jacket artwork for this omnibus. I'll get to that in a moment. You can see the spine. This is a white spined omnibus. There's been quite a few of these lately from Marvel, especially in their Captain America line. I think it looks really clean and crisp. I definitely dig it, but I want to give collectors out there a heads up. If you're expecting a black background for the spine or something like that, it is a white spined omnibus. In the back of the dust jacket, we have a description, some blurbs, some pricing information, things like that, and a picture of Captain America seemingly getting arrested. What an evocative image. Suffice it to say, I was sold on this book. Right from the get-go, I love the design of the book. Really cool. Good job, Marvel. And speaking of the design for the book, we will do one final look at this dust jacket, including the interior flaps. Now, the flaps on the inside aren't too jaw-dropping in this collection, just a lot more writing, things like that. But we'll take one more final look at the dust jacket before we transition to the under the dust jacket artwork. I really love what they decided to do with this book. And frankly, given what it is, I'm surprised that Marvel hasn't exploited this option for under the dust jacket artwork yet in these lines of Captain America books. Effectively, under the dust jacket, we just have a printout of the shield. And I think that that's such a novel concept. I'm so happy with it. As funny as it sounds, this was one of the selling points for this book for me. When I saw what was under the dust jacket, I was like, wow, I need to have this one in my collection. Love the look of it. I'm such a sucker for the shield, and I think that this is such a brilliant idea to have on the book. I know you could have showcased different art from the collection, but just having that simple shield, really cool. And there's a look at it right now, fully spread. Just wow, who wouldn't want this in their collection? I just think this was really well done. I love seeing it. Like I said, I was just so floored by the design. I think that this was one really well-made Marvel omnibus. Now a quick look at that binding for all of you collectors out there. Like I mentioned at the top, I believe it's still a sewn binding, though I do see a bit of glue in mine. Maybe someone out there can correct me. Is it possible to be sewn and glued? If so, I think that that's what this omnibus is. At any rate, I really didn't have any binding trouble. There is a bit of gutter loss, as you'll see as I flip through the collection, but nothing too critical. Really comparable to what we've seen with a lot of omnibuses. And the fact that this is a smaller omnibus coming in under 700 pages, I think the gutter loss is fairly negligible. And now we can go ahead and jump into the book itself. We have some nice darker blue end pages before we jump into the title page, the publication information, and then we have that nice kind of mapping of the issues by creators. This is really what we have instead of a proper table of contents that's numbered, things like that. This is really common with a lot of modern Marvel omnibuses. You get a feel for what issues are in the book and who is kind of attached to each of them as far as the creative teams, but you don't really have a proper issue 1 is on this page, things like that. It's about to be expected, but I do miss a proper table of contents. Jumping into the issues after that, I really love that we have basically the cover of the issue and the number of issue it is. There are some omnibuses that don't include any kind of number or like numbering of the issues. We have things like the Hickman omnibuses that all the covers are at the back, but I personally prefer having that nice cover reproduced, knowing what issue it is, and then being able to jump right in. To me, it's the closest to mimicking kind of picking up individual issues, and it makes mapping this book when you pick it up and are trying to reference events real quick a lot breezier. Jumping into the story, again, I'm going to go light on spoilers here, but you should know that this whole run from Ta-Nehisi Coates is in many ways a response to the run that came before with the Nick Spencer era. That run is fairly divisive for some of the things they put Steve Rogers through. I will save any spoilers on that, but to suffice it to say, a lot of public perception and belief about Steve Rogers has been taking a nosedive. People don't like Captain America, people don't trust Captain America, people don't really believe in Captain America anymore. And that's really where this run from Coates picks up. It's a very, very interesting time in the history of this character where basically it feels like everyone is against him and he's trying to prove himself, still kind of fight for what's right, but dealing with a lot of opposition with just kind of public perception and so forth. I really thought this was a novel way to approach this character. I love setting Captain America as kind of an underdog and kind of scrappy again, trying to lead by his values and who he really is. We also see the country of America at a very fractured, divisive time as portrayed in this omnibus. I really like how they did this. I think it mirrors some kind of current events without being too political or kind of hitting you in the face with it. And I think that was a really fine line to be walking, but I think Coates did it really admirably. We have America really divided on some key issues, even how they feel about Captain America or all the events that transpired within the Marvel Universe in America prior to this run, and we have them all kind of navigating that, and Steve Rogers trying to, again, get back in good graces, figure out what he stands for, what his identity really is, and I love that. I love that they almost try to make it that he fights for the dream, like the American dream and all the values that upholds, the justice, everything, rather than the country itself or how people feel about him. He fights for the dream, and I think that is a really cool concept. So we have that opposing a lot of different cool villains in this omnibus. We have some really notable ones, some of the big bad heavy hitters within the Captain America mythos. Love seeing that. There's some really creative villains that kind of get thrown in here that I didn't expect. Again, I'll try not to spoil that for you here. Another thing I really like is we have a really, really big supporting cast of characters in this omnibus, more than I've seen in some previous runs. We have not only appearances by Falcon and Winter Soldier, but by the Daughters of Liberty, which is basically a handful of female heroines within the Marvel Universe. Thought this was a really fun group of characters that was really used quite well alongside Captain America. Overall, I think it was just really well done. The writing was very strong, the dialogue was believable, and the run was just very well paced. I think overall those 30-some issues had a very clear storyline and narrative thrust, and we had a bunch of mini arcs kind of in the midst of it, but it all served one larger narrative that we get a really good payoff for within this book. And in that way, this is one of my favorite just standalone volumes that I can pick up, enjoy beginning, middle, and end. I will say though, because so much of it in the beginning at least seems like a response to what happened in Nick Spencer's era, as much as this is a standalone volume and I think a run that can be read kind of within a vacuum for the most part, I would say you would need to kind of brush up a bit on the events of that run or kind of familiarize yourself with the central cast of characters. But should you do that, I think that anyone can basically pick up this book and enjoy it. I know for me, this was one of the most refreshing and enjoyable runs I've had with Captain America since Brubaker, as far as modern Captain America runs go. Really, really enjoyed this. I'm not entirely sure what the public perception on this run from Ta-Nehisi Coates is. I've heard different mixed reviews, but I, for one, really enjoyed this. I read this thing cover to cover over a couple weeks, and I just had a blast. I think that this is one I will definitely revisit in the future as time allows. There's definitely some key issues I will want to pick up and read over and over again, and overall, I love the presentation. I love the style. I think all of the different artists attached to this book are very, very gifted, and it's just a really fantastic take on Captain America. There are several artists on this book, but I feel like all of them have a pretty similar visual style in the way that I was never really totally thrown out of the work as different artists change hands. I think that there was at least a kind of continuity of style here, and all the artists I think were at full force. I think for those that maybe enjoyed the Nick Spencer run for the departure we got with the main character, Steve Rogers, this is something that's really a return to form. This is the squeaky clean, pure moral Steve Rogers, and I love seeing that return. I did enjoy what I saw during the Nick Spencer era, but I didn't realize how much I missed kind of our Boy Scout Captain America, and he's back in the Coates run, and I really admire that. We see a lot of what makes this character strong and great in this run, and I really appreciated that. I think, like I said, the characters they chose to use were really well developed, had a ton of agency, and I felt like it was a really great cast of characters. I didn't feel like we were just pigeonholed with only Steve Rogers. We have a ton of supporting characters, both heroes and villains, and I think that this storyline was so much better for it. I think that the environments were really immersive, and like I said, it was overall just a really fun read. At the back of the omnibus, we have a handful of extras, including, of course, a variant cover art gallery. Always love seeing it. Always nice to have some bonus features at the end of this book. Like I mentioned, overall, this is a smaller omnibus, but it packs a real punch. This was definitely a winner for me, and one I thoroughly enjoyed reading. But let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from others that have read this run. I do have a more full review that has some spoilers on my channel already released that you're welcome to check out. And if you're hoping to pick up your own copy, definitely check out organicpricedbooks.com. Thanks for having me, and until next time, have a good one.